Hi, everyone. Welcome to my channel, English Journey Conversation. I'm very happy to see you here today. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoy this video, please like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to support our channel. It really helps us keep making more helpful content for you. Hello, my dear listeners. I'm so glad you are here. You are listening to English Journey Conversation, a place where we help you improve your English speaking, listening, and communication skills in a fun and easy way. Our goal is to help you speak English fluently and confidently. If you want to speak English naturally, without stress or fear, then you are in the right place. Today, we will talk about a very important topic: thinking in English and speaking fluently. Thinking in English is one of the most effective ways to improve your speaking. Let me ask you a few questions. Do you understand English but find it difficult to speak? Do you often translate words from your language into English in your head before talking? Do you pause a lot when you speak? Do you feel nervous or afraid of making mistakes? If you answered yes to any of these questions, don't worry. You are not alone. Many learners have the same problem. But here's the good news. You can train your brain to think in English, and this will make speaking much easier. Imagine this. You think in English automatically. You don't need to translate. Words and sentences come out naturally. You feel confident in any conversation. That would be amazing, right? Today, I will show you simple, fun ways to train your brain to think in English. With practice, speaking will become natural, easy, and fluent. Here's what we will cover in today's lesson. Why thinking in English helps you speak fluently. When you think in English, your brain starts to respond faster, so you don't need to pause or translate. This makes your speaking smooth. Common problems English learners face and how to fix them. Many people struggle because they focus too much on grammar, translate from their native language, or worry about mistakes. We'll learn how to overcome these issues. Step-by-step tips to start thinking in English. I will give you practical steps that you can use every day to make your mind switch to English naturally. Easy daily exercises to train your brain. These are small, simple exercises that you can do anytime, anywhere, even while walking, cooking, or commuting. How thinking in English builds confidence. Speaking becomes easier when your brain is ready. You feel more confident, and you stop worrying about making mistakes. Whether you're a student, a professional, or someone who simply wants to speak English comfortably, this lesson is for you. Make sure you stay until the end, because I will share special exercises that you can start using today. You don't want to miss them. Now, let's start with the first question. Why is thinking in English so important? To understand this, we first need to ask, what is thinking? Thinking is what your brain does when it plans, imagines, or solves problems. It is how you organize your ideas and words in your mind before expressing them. When you learn English, many learners try to translate every word from their native language into English. This is slow and stressful. It makes speaking hard because your brain is doing double work, first translating, then speaking. But if you train your brain to think directly in English, you skip the translation step. Your speaking becomes faster, smoother, and more natural. Imagine being in a conversation. Someone asks you a question, and instead of pausing to translate, your brain immediately thinks in English. You respond naturally and confidently. This is exactly what thinking in English can do for you. And the best part is, it's not difficult. With regular practice, your brain can learn to do it automatically, just like your native language. In this lesson, I will guide you with easy exercises and clear steps. You will learn how to start thinking in English today, how to practice every day, and how to feel confident when speaking. By the end of this lesson, you will see how simple and fun it can be. So, get ready. Let's begin our journey to thinking in English and speaking fluently. Thinking is something we do all day, every day. You think when you make decisions, solve problems, plan what to do, or express how you feel. Sometimes you think in pictures and other times in words. Even before you speak or write, your brain first forms the words in your head. That's thinking. Even small, everyday decisions involve thinking. For example, What should I eat? Or where are my keys? Every little choice requires your brain to work. Now, here's an important idea. How you think affects how you speak. If your thoughts happen in English, your words will come out faster and easier. The way you think influences your actions, your decisions, and the way you communicate with others. So, what does thinking in English actually mean? It means using English in your mind while you think, plan, or make decisions. Instead of first thinking in your native language and then translating to English, you train your brain to think directly in English. Here's an example. Imagine you see a tree. If your first language is Spanish, you might first think arbol and then translate it to tree. But if you are thinking in English, you see the tree and immediately think tree. No translation is needed. It seems small, but this change makes a huge difference. It helps you speak faster, more fluently, and with more confidence. Why does translating slow you down? Many learners speak slowly because their brains try to translate every word. Here's what happens in your mind when you translate. Someone asks you a question in English. You translate the question into your own language. You think of your answer in your language. Then you translate your answer back into English. Finally, you speak. That's a lot of work for your brain. It's no wonder conversations feel slow and stressful. But when you think in English, everything becomes simpler. You hear the question in English, you think of your answer in English, and you speak immediately. This makes your speaking faster, smoother, and more natural. You don't get stuck trying to find the right words or translating in your head. Conversations start to feel real and enjoyable. So why is thinking in English so powerful? There are many benefits. It makes you speak faster. When you stop translating, your words come out naturally. You don't pause as much, and speaking starts to feel like a real conversation. It improves fluency. Your sentences flow more smoothly, and you can express yourself without hesitation. It builds confidence. Speaking becomes less stressful when your brain automatically thinks in English. You don't worry about making mistakes or getting stuck. It helps you understand better. When your brain is already in English mode, listening becomes easier and you understand faster. Imagine this in real life. You are sitting in a coffee shop and someone asks, "Do you want a coffee?" If you think in your native language, your brain has to translate first, and the conversation feels slow. But if you think in English, you immediately understand, "Yes, I want a coffee," and you respond naturally. The conversation feels smooth and effortless. Thinking in English doesn't happen overnight, but with practice, it becomes natural. It's like training a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. Your brain learns to respond in English automatically. This is the key to speaking fluently and confidently. In the next part of our lesson, we will explore simple steps to start thinking in English every day. We'll also look at easy exercises you can do at home, at work, or even on the go. With these techniques, your brain will slowly switch to English mode, and speaking will feel easy and enjoyable. Remember, thinking in English is not just a skill, it's a game changer. It can transform your speaking, listening, and confidence. Once your brain starts thinking in English, conversations become effortless, your fluency improves, and learning English becomes fun. Imagine you are at a coffee shop. The barista asks, "What would you like to order?" If you think in your native language, your brain has to pause, translate the question, think of your answer, and then translate it back into English. This takes time, and the conversation feels slow. But if you think in English, your response comes naturally. "I'll have a cappuccino, please." Less thinking, more speaking. Your words flow smoothly, and the conversation feels real. Thinking in English does more than just speed up your speaking. It helps you learn naturally. When you think in English, you start learning the language the way native speakers do, without memorizing grammar rules or translating words. Think of how babies learn their first language. They listen to words, connect them with meanings or actions, and gradually begin to think in that language. There is no translation involved. You can train your brain to do the same in English. For example, instead of learning that the word run translates to correr in Spanish or courir in French, you connect the word directly with the action of running. When you hear run, your brain immediately thinks of someone running, not the translation. This small shift changes everything. Your understanding becomes faster, your memory improves, and English starts to feel natural. Thinking in English also builds confidence. Many learners feel nervous when speaking because they worry about mistakes or get stuck translating words in their head. This slows them down and makes them hesitant. But when you practice thinking in English, you relax. Your brain learns to form sentences directly in English, so speaking becomes smoother and more confident. For example, imagine you are at a party and someone asks, "Where are you from?" If you are thinking in English, you answer immediately, "I'm from Brazil." But if you are thinking in your native language, you might pause, translate in your head, and feel nervous. The more you practice thinking in English, the more confident you become. Confidence grows naturally when your brain starts forming sentences directly in English. Another benefit is that thinking in English improves your listening skills. Many learners struggle to understand native speakers because they first translate what they hear into their native language. This slows comprehension, especially when people speak fast. But if you train your brain to think in English, listening becomes easier. You process words and sentences directly in English, which allows you to understand conversations quickly and accurately. For instance, imagine listening to a friend tell a story in English. If you translate every word, you might miss important details or feel confused. But if you think in English, your brain immediately understands a story, and you can respond naturally. This is exactly why thinking in English is so powerful. It improves speaking, listening, and overall communication. So, to summarize, thinking in English has 4 major benefits. You speak faster and more naturally. Conversations feel real and smooth. You learn naturally, like a native speaker. Words connect directly to meanings, not translations. You gain confidence. Speaking becomes easier, less stressful, and more enjoyable. You understand better when listening. You follow fast conversations without translating in your head. With practice, thinking in English becomes automatic. It may feel strange at first, but each small step helps your brain adapt. Over time, conversations in English will feel effortless. You'll start thinking in English without even noticing it, and speaking fluently will become a natural part of your day. In the next part of our lesson, we will explore practical exercises and easy daily habits that will help you train your brain to think in English. These exercises are simple, fun, and effective, and you can start using them immediately. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Thinking in English is not just a skill, it's a superpower for anyone learning English. It speeds up your speaking, builds confidence, improves listening, and makes learning enjoyable. Once your brain is trained, English stops feeling like a challenge and starts feeling like a natural part of your life. Imagine someone says, "Let's grab a bite." If you try to translate it word by word, your brain might get confused. You might think about grab and bite separately and not understand the meaning. But if you think in English, you instantly know it means, "Let's go eat something." Thinking in English helps you understand phrases and expressions naturally, without translating every single word. Thinking in English also helps you sound natural when speaking. When you translate directly from your native language, your sentences might sound strange or incorrect in English. Every language has its own grammar, expressions, and ways of saying things. But if you think in English, your sentences come out smoothly and correctly. For example, in some languages, people ask, "How many years do you have?" But in English, we say, "How old are you?" If your brain is trained to think in English, you will naturally say the right thing without stopping to translate. You'll sound more like a native speaker, and your English will feel natural and fluent. Another benefit is that thinking in English helps make the language part of your daily life. To become fluent, English must be more than just something you study in class. It should be a part of your everyday thoughts and actions. When you train yourself to think in English throughout the day, you stay connected to the language constantly. For example, in the morning, instead of thinking in your native language like lay in Spanish, meaning I have to get up, you think, I have to get up. When you see objects around you, try naming them in English instead of your native language. Over time, these small habits make English feel natural. Your brain starts to think in English automatically, and speaking becomes much easier. Let's summarize why thinking in English is so powerful. You speak faster. Your words come naturally without pausing to translate. You learn naturally. You connect words with meanings or actions, like a native speaker. You feel confident. You don't worry about mistakes because sentences form automatically in your mind. You understand better when listening. Your brain processes English directly, not through translation. You sound natural. Your sentences match English grammar and expressions, not your native language. English becomes part of your daily life. You think, plan, and act in English, not just study it. The more you practice thinking in English, the closer you get to fluency. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you train your brain, the stronger it becomes. Of course, there are challenges. Thinking in English is not easy at first. Many learners still think in their native language and try to translate everything. This slows them down and makes speaking stressful. But don't worry, this is normal. Everyone experiences it at the beginning. The key is to be patient and practice consistently. One of the biggest challenges is translating from your native language. Many learners get stuck because they translate every sentence in their heads before speaking or writing. This creates delays, hesitation, and sometimes even confusion. But there's a solution. Train your brain to bypass translation. Start with simple sentences and everyday thoughts. For example, when you want to say, I'm going to the store, think it directly in English instead of translating it from your language. Do this for small actions, feelings, and observations throughout the day. Gradually, your brain will start thinking in English automatically, and speaking will become faster and more fluent. The key is practice, patience, and consistency. Start small. Think in English in short moments and gradually expand to longer sentences and ideas. Over time, you will notice a big difference in your fluency, confidence, and understanding. Thinking in English is not just a skill, it's a habit that transforms the way you learn, speak, and experience English every day. The more you practice, the more natural and enjoyable English becomes. One of the biggest challenges when learning English is that many learners translate every sentence from their native language before speaking or writing. This takes time, often leads to mistakes, and makes conversations feel difficult and stressful. So, how do you solve this? The key is practice and immersion. You need to surround yourself with English as much as possible, so your brain starts thinking in English naturally. Here are some effective ways to do this. Listen to English every day. Try podcasts, audiobooks, or songs. Pay attention to how words are used and how sentences flow. Watch English movies or shows. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. Focus on listening, repeating, and noticing how native speakers talk. Read in English. Start with simple books, articles, or even short stories. Reading helps you see vocabulary and grammar used naturally. Talk to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing, your thoughts, or even your plans. The more you hear, read, and use English, the more natural it becomes. Your brain will gradually stop translating and start connecting English words directly with their meanings. Over time, thinking in English becomes automatic. A simple tip: try to think in English during everyday activities. For example, while walking, cooking, or cleaning, describe what you are doing in English. I'm washing the dishes. The weather is nice today. These small, daily habits train your brain to think in English, and soon it will become second nature. Another common challenge is limited vocabulary. Sometimes you may not know the right word in English, which makes it hard to think or speak fluently. You feel stuck and hesitant. The solution is to learn vocabulary in context, not just memorize single words. For example, instead of just learning the word beautiful, practice it in full sentences. The sunset is beautiful. She wore a beautiful dress. This helps you understand how words are used naturally. You can also keep a vocabulary notebook or use apps like Anki or Quizlet to review new words. Write sentences or speak aloud using those words. The more you use them, the easier it is to remember and think in English with confidence. A third challenge is the fear of making mistakes. Many learners are afraid of speaking or thinking in English because they worry about errors. But this fear slows down your progress and keeps you from practicing. The solution is to accept mistakes as a normal part of learning. Everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. Mistakes are opportunities to learn and improve. Start by speaking to yourself or with a friend. Don't worry about being perfect. Focus on expressing your ideas. Gradually, your confidence will grow, and your brain will feel more comfortable thinking in English. Remember, overcoming these challenges is all about practice, consistency, and immersion. Surround yourself with English. Use it every day, and allow yourself to make mistakes. This approach trains your brain to think in English naturally, improves your fluency, and builds confidence. In summary, the main challenges to thinking in English are translating from your native language, solved by immersion and daily practice. Limited vocabulary, solved by learning words in context and using them often. Fear of mistakes, solved by accepting mistakes and practicing confidently. By addressing these challenges step by step, your brain will gradually start thinking in English automatically. Speaking, listening, and understanding will all improve, and English will start to feel like a natural part of your daily life. Another challenge learners face is fear of speaking with others, even after practicing thinking in English. Many people feel nervous about talking to native speakers or making mistakes. The solution is simple: practice and keep speaking. Join friendly English speaking groups, chat with friends, or practice with a tutor. Don't worry if you say the wrong word. Just keep going. Remember, mistakes are part of learning. Progress matters more than perfection. Celebrate small wins, even if it's just saying one sentence without stopping. Every small step counts. Challenge 4 is overthinking and mental blocks. Sometimes your brain freezes because you try too hard to say everything perfectly. You worry about grammar, the right words, or making mistakes. This stress makes thinking in English harder and slows you down. The solution is to focus on fluency, not perfection. Don't try to be perfect. Just get your message across. Here's a practical tip: speak or write in simple sentences. Don't stop to correct every mistake. Think first, fix later. Relax and give yourself time. Imagine how you think in your native language. You don't worry about perfection, right? Do the same in English. Even if it's not perfect, your brain will get used to forming sentences directly in English. The more you practice, the more confident and fluent you become. Challenge 5 is not enough speaking practice. Many learners don't have regular chances to speak English. Without practice, your brain struggles to recall words quickly, especially in real-time situations. This makes thinking in English even harder. The solution is to speak English every day, even in small ways. Try these ideas. Join conversation clubs or language exchange groups, or simply talk to yourself about your day. For example, I'm making lunch. I had a good day. You can also record yourself speaking, then listen and notice areas to improve. The more you speak, the easier it becomes for your brain to think in English naturally and confidently. Challenge 6 is inconsistent practice. Practicing only once in a while slows your progress. If you don't use English regularly, your brain won't build the habit of thinking in English. The solution is consistency. Even 15 to 20 minutes a day can make a huge difference. It's better to practice a little every day than to do a long session once in a while. Make speaking, listening, reading, and thinking in English part of your daily routine. Describe your surroundings, your actions, or your feelings in English. For example, the sky is blue today. I need to go to the store. These simple habits train your brain to stay in English mode. Over time, you'll notice your fluency improving and your thoughts naturally happening in English. To summarize, the main challenges and solutions for thinking in English are: fear of speaking, practice regularly, and remember mistakes are normal. Overthinking, focus on fluency, not perfection. Use simple sentences. Limited speaking opportunities, talk every day, even to yourself. Join clubs or online groups. Inconsistent practice, make English a daily habit, even if just 15 to 20 minutes. By facing these challenges step by step, your brain will start to think in English automatically. Speaking will become faster, more confident, and natural. Listening and understanding will improve, and your English will gradually feel like a natural part of your daily life. Thinking in English isn't just a skill, it's a habit, a mindset, and a way to transform the way you learn, speak, and live in English. The more consistent you are, the faster you'll see progress, and soon speaking fluently will feel effortless. Making English part of your daily life makes a huge difference in your fluency and confidence. The more you expose yourself to English every day, the faster your brain learns to think in it automatically. Here's how to create daily habits that make English natural. Read a few pages of a book every day, even if it's just for 10 to 15 minutes. Listen to a podcast or short audio in English. Focus on the words, pronunciation, and expressions. Watch a short video in English, like a news clip, educational video, or even a fun YouTube clip. Describe your surroundings in English while walking, commuting, or doing chores. For example, the sky is cloudy today, or I am waiting for the bus. The key is daily exposure. The more you read, listen, and speak English every day, the more natural it becomes to think in English. Small, consistent steps make a huge difference over time. Challenge 7 is difficulty with complex thoughts. Many learners find it easy to think in English about simple things, like daily routines or basic conversations. But it's much harder to talk about deep or complex topics, like emotions, politics, science, or abstract ideas. This happens when your vocabulary or grammar isn't yet advanced enough to express these ideas clearly. The solution is to level up your English gradually. To handle complex thoughts, you need stronger language tools. Here's how to do it. Read articles, books, or watch TED Talks on topics that interest you or challenge your understanding. Look up new words, phrases, idioms, or sentence structures, and try to use them in your own sentences. Practice summarizing or expressing opinions. For example, read a news article, then explain it in English using your own words. Watch a video and share your thoughts in English. Another useful tip is to break down complex ideas into smaller parts. Instead of trying to speak about something complicated all at once, start simple. Then gradually build it up as your vocabulary grows. For example, instead of saying, "The economy is experiencing a downturn due to inflation and market volatility," you could start with, "The economy is not doing well. Prices are going up. People are spending less." Once you are comfortable, you can gradually combine these ideas into more complex sentences. Over time, your brain learns to process and express advanced thoughts directly in English. Remember, thinking in English is a long-term skill. It doesn't happen overnight, and it takes patience and consistent practice. By addressing the 7 common challenges we've discussed, translating, limited vocabulary, fear of mistakes, overthinking, lack of speaking practice, inconsistent practice, and difficulty with complex thoughts, you train your brain to think, understand, and speak in English naturally. The secret is daily, mindful practice. Even small steps, like thinking in English while brushing your teeth, describing your lunch, or summarizing a video you watched, add up. Gradually, English stops feeling like a separate task and becomes a natural part of your day. Your fluency, confidence, and understanding will grow steadily. With practice, patience, and the right strategies, thinking in English becomes easier and more automatic. Conversations will feel smoother, listening will become faster, and expressing even complicated ideas will start to feel natural. Every small effort builds your fluency, and over time, you'll notice a real transformation in your English skills. By overcoming the main challenges, translating from your native language, limited vocabulary, fear of mistakes, overthinking, lack of speaking practice, inconsistent practice, and difficulty with complex ideas, you can rewire your brain to think in English naturally, just like native speakers do. To make this process easier, let's look at step-by-step methods to start thinking in English. Practicing these steps will help you speak faster, listen more effectively, and communicate more fluently. Step 1. Start with simple vocabulary. Begin with words you use every day. You don't need fancy words to start thinking in English. You need useful, practical words. Focus on basic words like eat, go, sleep, home, work, phone, coffee. Once you have these words, try forming simple thoughts directly in English. For example, instead of thinking, I need to eat lunch, and translating from your native language, simply think, I'm hungry. I want lunch. Connect the English words directly with the ideas or actions in your mind. Avoid translating, it slows you down. The simpler and more direct your thoughts, the easier it is to train your brain. Step 2. Describe everyday situations. Use English to describe what's happening around you, either out loud or silently in your head. For example, I'm walking to the store. It's sunny today. I see a red car. You can do this while walking, cleaning, cooking, commuting, or doing any daily activity. The more you describe your world in English, the more your brain starts thinking automatically in English. Eventually, this will feel natural, and forming English sentences will become effortless. Step 3. Use English for your inner dialogue. Your inner dialogue is the voice in your head that talks to you all day. It's a powerful tool for learning English. Instead of thinking in your native language, make it a habit to talk to yourself in English. For example, make to-do lists. I need to study after dinner. I will call my friend. Plan your day. I have a meeting at 10. I will go to the store at 5. Reflect on your feelings. I'm tired. I'm excited. This is difficult, but I'll try. Using English in your inner dialogue trains your brain to form English thoughts naturally. Over time, thinking in English internally will make speaking externally much faster and easier. Step 4. Engage in English immersion. Immersion means surrounding yourself with English as much as possible. The more you hear, read, and use English every day, the faster your brain adapts to thinking in English automatically. Some practical immersion methods include listening to English podcasts, songs, or audiobooks, watching English movies, shows, or videos, reading articles, books, or social media posts in English, speaking with friends, tutors, or language exchange partners, writing or describing your day in English. Immersion is not just about studying. It's about living in English for short periods each day. When your brain constantly interacts with English, thinking in English becomes a habit and fluency develops naturally. By following these 4 steps, learning simple vocabulary, describing everyday situations, using English for inner dialogue, and practicing immersion, you'll gradually train your brain to think in English effortlessly. With consistent practice, patience, and daily exposure, your fluency, confidence, and understanding will improve dramatically. English will stop feeling like a second language and start feeling like a natural part of your life. Step 5. Immerse yourself in English as much as possible. One of the most powerful ways to train your brain to think directly in English is immersion. Immersion means surrounding yourself with English every day, so your brain starts processing the language automatically, without translating from your native language. Why does immersion work? When you constantly hear, read, and interact with English, your brain begins to associate words directly with experiences, ideas, or actions, instead of translations. Over time, thinking in English becomes natural. Here's how you can immerse yourself in English. Listen to English podcasts while walking, commuting, or doing chores. Watch TV shows, YouTube videos, or movies in English. Use subtitles only if you need them, but gradually try to watch without subtitles. Read in English books, news articles, blogs, or even social media posts. Change your phone or app settings to English. This simple habit exposes you to English constantly. Think about what you see or hear in English, not just passively consume it. For example, while watching a cooking video, try thinking, "She's chopping the onions. Now she's frying them in oil. That smells delicious." Even just 30 minutes a day of immersion can make a big difference over time. Consistency is key. Step 7. Practice thought exercises. Thought exercises are a powerful way to train your brain to think in English, even when you are alone and not having a conversation. These exercises help you stay in English mode, making it easier to speak, write, and understand English naturally. Why thought exercises are useful? They build mental fluency, helping your mind switch to English quickly. They develop your ability to think clearly and creatively in English. They prepare you for speaking, writing, and understanding English in real-life situations. Here's how to start. Pick a topic. Choose anything that interests you: your day, weekend plans, a favorite movie, a book, or even a hypothetical situation like, what would I do with $1 million? Think about it in English for 2 to 5 minutes. Form full sentences and describe your ideas clearly. Avoid translating from your native language. Start simple and progress gradually. Beginners can talk about daily routines or easy opinions. As you improve, move to more complex subjects like explaining how something works, comparing cultures, or giving advice. Example for beginners. On Sunday, I want to relax at home. I'll watch a movie and cook dinner. Maybe I'll call my friend in the evening. For a bonus challenge, pretend you're being interviewed. Answer questions out loud in English. This trains your brain to respond quickly and think in English under pressure, just like in real conversations. Step 9. Be patient and consistent. Thinking in English is a long-term skill. It doesn't happen overnight. You won't become fluent instantly, but small daily efforts add up over time. Being patient and consistent is the key to success. Why patience matters. It helps you build realistic expectations about progress. It reduces frustration when speaking or thinking in English feels hard. It encourages regular practice, which is essential to making English your default language. How to stay on track. Set a daily goal. For example, 10 minutes of inner dialogue, learning 5 new words, or describing one scene in English. Track your streak. Use a journal, app, or calendar to record your daily practice. Reward your progress. Celebrate completing a week of consistent effort. Even 15 minutes a day is enough to start retraining your brain to think in English naturally. Exercise 2. Think in English for a set time. One of the best ways to train your brain to think in English is to designate a daily session just for English thoughts. Start small, 5 to 10 minutes per day, and gradually increase the time as it becomes easier. Why this works? It builds mental discipline to use English without translating. It increases comfort and fluency over time. It strengthens your ability to respond naturally in English. How to do it? Pick a quiet moment in your day while walking, commuting, eating, or even relaxing at home. Think about your daily routine in English. For example, I have a meeting at 3 p.m. I need to buy groceries. Avoid using your native language entirely during this period. Challenge yourself to speak your thoughts aloud. Now, I'm making coffee. I'll drink it before work. Start with a few minutes and gradually extend the time as your brain becomes comfortable thinking in English. Consistency is key to making this habit automatic. Exercise 5. Continued keep a journal in English. After writing simple daily activities, try building up to more complex ideas. For example, today I went shopping. I bought fruits and vegetables. I felt a bit stressed, but writing helps me relax and focus. Tips for journaling. Avoid using translation apps. Work through gaps using an English dictionary or a thesaurus. Focus on expressing your feelings, opinions, and thoughts in English, not just listing events. Gradually, your brain will start forming sentences in English naturally, without thinking in your native language. Learning English can sometimes feel slow, especially when you always translate from your native language in your head. But there is a strategy that helps a lot. Thinking in English. Thinking in English is one of the most powerful ways to improve fluency because it trains your brain to use English naturally without needing to translate every word or sentence. When you start thinking in English, speaking, writing, and understanding the language becomes faster and easier. It also makes you more confident because you stop hesitating while searching for words. One simple way to practice thinking in English is to create short stories about your day. For example, you can start by describing simple moments. You might write, "Today I woke up early. I opened my window and saw the sunrise. The sky was orange and pink. Birds were singing, and the air felt fresh." Writing or speaking like this helps you use everyday vocabulary and grammar naturally. After practicing daily events, you can also try your imagination. For instance, you might say, "There was a dragon living in the mountains. It guarded a hidden treasure. One day, a brave girl climbed the mountain to meet it." This lets you practice both real and fictional situations, which improves your creativity and ability to express yourself in English. Another effective exercise is reflection at the end of the day. Before going to bed, take a few minutes to think in English about what happened that day. Ask yourself questions like, what did I do today? What went well? What could I do better? You can do this mentally, or even better, write it in a journal. Over time, you will notice that your sentences become longer, more detailed, and more fluent. Reflecting in English also helps you remember vocabulary naturally because it connects words to your daily experiences. To make thinking in English easier, there are several key techniques you can use. First, try to label things in your environment. For example, look at your desk and think, "This is a notebook. These are pens. The lamp is bright." Second, dedicate certain times of the day to English-only thinking, like when you are walking, cooking, or waiting for something. Third, try describing your surroundings in detail, even if you are just sitting in your room. Fourth, practice silent conversations in your mind. Imagine asking and answering questions in English, like talking to a friend or giving instructions to yourself. Keeping a journal in English is another very helpful method. You can write about daily events, thoughts, or even imaginary stories. Reading and mimicking speech from English movies, shows, or YouTube videos also helps you understand how native speakers talk. Use visual triggers such as objects around you to practice describing them in English. You can even tell short stories in your head, like a mini adventure or an observation about the world. Doing these exercises daily gradually trains your brain to think in English naturally. Why is this important? Fluency is not just knowing words or grammar. It is the ability to use English automatically in your thoughts. When your brain starts thinking in English, you can speak faster, understand conversations better, and write more confidently. You no longer need to translate from your native language, which saves time and reduces mistakes. This connection between thinking in English and fluency is the reason why successful language learners often seem to speak English effortlessly. They are not translating, they are already thinking in English. In short, the Think in English strategy works because it turns the language from something you study into something you live and breathe daily. By labeling your environment, creating stories, reflecting on your day, and practicing silent conversations, you build fluency step by step. Over time, English stops feeling like a separate subject and becomes a natural part of your mind. This is the real secret to reaching fluency. Your thoughts become English, and your English becomes natural. When learning English, one of the biggest challenges is trying to translate everything from your native language in your head. Imagine you are in a conversation. Every time someone asks a question, you have to think of the words in your language first, then try to translate them into English. This slows you down, makes your speech hesitant, and sometimes even confuses the meaning. Fluency, however, is different. Fluency means thinking directly in English, so you don't need translation. Your brain starts to access English words, phrases, and sentence structures instantly. When this happens, speaking, understanding, and even writing English becomes much faster and more natural. Thinking in English is more than just speaking slowly or translating in your mind. It is a mental shift. Your brain stops seeing English as a foreign language that needs decoding and starts seeing it as a living, usable tool for communication. This change allows you to understand idioms, choose the right tenses, and use vocabulary without stopping to think. It trains your mind to respond automatically, like a native speaker. Over time, forming sentences in English no longer feels like hard work. It becomes intuitive. There are several major benefits to thinking in English. First, it improves response times. When you think directly in English, you can answer questions quickly and naturally. In conversations, this is very important. If you are constantly translating, there is always a delay. You might miss the flow of conversation, forget words, or feel nervous. Thinking in English allows you to understand what someone says and respond immediately. This is especially helpful in real-life situations, whether talking with friends, answering a question in class, or speaking in a meeting. Fast and smooth responses make conversations more enjoyable and less stressful. Second, thinking in English improves pronunciation and intonation. The way we speak is influenced by how we think. If you think in your native language and then translate, your English may sound unnatural or hesitant. But when you start thinking in English, you naturally pick up the rhythm, melody, and sounds of the language. You start to pronounce words more accurately and speak with the correct stress and intonation. Over time, this makes your speech sound more natural and closer to a native speaker. Third, thinking in English helps you use more vocabulary and idioms naturally. When you always translate, you rely only on words you already know. But when your brain thinks in English, it starts remembering words automatically as you need them. You begin to use new words and phrases in the right context, without consciously memorizing lists. This also applies to idioms and common expressions. For example, instead of saying very good, you might naturally say excellent or fantastic at the right moment. Your brain starts to choose the right words automatically, which makes your speech richer and more precise. Fourth, it strengthens overall comprehension and confidence. As you practice thinking in English, reading, listening, and understanding the language becomes easier. You notice patterns in grammar and vocabulary without consciously studying them. You feel more confident because your mind is already prepared to understand and respond in English. Mistakes become less scary because you start thinking in the language itself rather than worrying about translation. To train yourself to think in English, you can try simple exercises. Describe your surroundings in English, narrate your daily activities in your mind, or have silent conversations with yourself. Label items around you, reflect on your day, or create short stories in English. Combine these with watching English media or listening to podcasts, and your brain will gradually start operating in English by default. The key idea is this: fluency is not just memorizing words or grammar. True fluency comes when your thoughts themselves become English. When your mind processes the language directly, your speaking becomes faster, your comprehension improves, your vocabulary grows naturally, and your confidence rises. Thinking in English transforms the way you use the language, making it a natural and effortless part of daily life. Over time, the more you practice this, the closer you get to speaking English like a native speaker. When you think directly in English, another important benefit is that your vocabulary improves naturally. Instead of memorizing long, disconnected word lists, your brain starts to recognize which words fit naturally in different situations. For example, you may learn that make a decision is a common way to talk about choosing something, rather than literally saying do a decision. Over time, you begin to use a wider range of words appropriately, which makes your conversations richer and more interesting. Thinking in English also helps you understand idioms and phrasal verbs, which often confuse learners because they don't translate literally. Expressions like break the ice or hit the books become easier to understand when you experience them as part of the language's culture. Using these phrases naturally makes your speech sound more authentic and fluent. Another major benefit is reduced mental stress. Constantly translating in your head is tiring. Switching between languages takes energy and concentration, which can make it harder to follow conversations or respond quickly. When you practice thinking in English, your mind doesn't have to stop and translate. Words, sentences, and ideas flow more smoothly, which makes speaking less stressful. You can focus on expressing yourself, rather than worrying about grammar or searching for the right translation. Over time, this reduces anxiety and builds confidence in speaking English. Thinking in English also strengthens your grammar skills. Grammar is not just about memorizing rules, it's about using them automatically. When your mind operates in English, it begins to apply grammar rules without conscious effort. You start forming correct sentences naturally, choosing the right verb tenses, articles, and prepositions instinctively. For example, instead of pausing to think, should I say I have eaten or I ate, your brain starts selecting the correct form automatically. This repeated practice helps you internalize grammar so that speaking and writing become smoother and more accurate. In addition, thinking in English improves listening skills. Understanding spoken English can be difficult when you always translate in your head. Native speakers don't translate, they just speak naturally. When you train your brain to think in English, you start processing the language the same way. This makes it easier to follow conversations, movies, news broadcasts, podcasts, and other spoken English. You notice patterns, sentence structures, and vocabulary in real time, which helps you understand meaning without pausing or guessing. Another advantage is better pronunciation and intonation. The way we speak is influenced by how we think. If you think in your native language, your English may sound choppy or unnatural. But when you think directly in English, you start internalizing the rhythm, stress, and melody of the language. This improves how you sound and makes your speech flow more smoothly. Over time, you may even notice that your accent becomes closer to natural English patterns without extra effort. Finally, thinking in English encourages creativity and self-expression. When your mind is free from constant translation, you can focus on forming ideas, telling stories, and explaining thoughts clearly. You can describe experiences in more detail, share opinions, or imagine scenarios in English. This not only makes learning enjoyable, but also prepares you for real-world situations where fluent English is needed. In short, thinking directly in English brings many benefits: a richer vocabulary, natural grammar, improved listening, smoother pronunciation, reduced mental stress, and stronger overall communication skills. It transforms English from something you study into something you use naturally every day. The more you practice this, the faster your fluency grows and the more confident you become. Thinking in English is not just a technique, it is the foundation for truly mastering the language. Thinking in English is a skill that takes practice, but it is one of the fastest ways to improve fluency. When your brain starts processing English directly, instead of translating from your native language, understanding and speaking the language becomes much easier. Listening to English media like movies, podcasts, or YouTube helps because your brain begins to process the language as it is meant to be used, not word by word. The key is consistent practice. Over time, your inner thoughts naturally shift to English and communication becomes smoother and more confident. Here are some practical strategies to start thinking in English. 1. Label your environment. A simple and effective way to start is by labeling objects around your home, office, or classroom with their English names. For example, you can put sticky notes on your door, fridge, desk, or mirror with words like door, fridge, mirror, or desk. When you see these items throughout the day, your brain automatically associates them with their English words. This trains your mind to think in English when you interact with everyday objects. Over time, labeling helps make English a natural part of your daily life. 2. Practice inner dialogue in English. Pay attention to your thoughts and try to describe them in English. Start small by narrating what you're doing, seeing, or feeling. For instance, if you're walking to the store, you might think, I am walking to the store to buy some groceries. I hope they have the apples I like. By consciously shifting your internal monologue to English, you strengthen the habit of thinking in the language. It may feel strange at first, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. You can also describe emotions, plans, or observations in English throughout the day. 3. Engage in English immersion. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. Listen to podcasts, watch movies or TV shows, read books, or follow social media in English. The more exposure you have, the more your brain becomes familiar with the language's sounds, patterns, and structures. Interacting with native speakers or other learners is even more effective. Conversation clubs, language exchanges, and online forums provide real-life practice, training your mind to process English without translating. Immersion also helps you understand cultural nuances, idioms, and informal expressions naturally. 4. Start small and gradually increase. You do not need to think in English perfectly from the beginning. Begin with short sentences or simple descriptions and slowly expand your thoughts into longer, more complex sentences. For example, start by narrating a short routine. I am making tea. I am adding sugar. I like my tea hot. Later, you can describe more details or imagine small stories. The key is consistency. Small daily practice leads to big improvement over time. 5. Combine exercises for maximum effect. The best results come from combining several strategies. Label your environment, practice inner dialogue, immerse yourself in English media, and reflect on your day in English. You can also try writing short stories or keeping a daily journal. Every time you practice, your brain reinforces English as the default language for thinking. This combination of exercises builds fluency, vocabulary, and confidence, making your English feel natural and automatic. Remember, transitioning to thinking in English takes time and patience. At first, your mind may switch back to your native language frequently, but that is normal. The important thing is to keep practicing consistently. With dedication, your brain will gradually shift, and thinking in English will become second nature. Once you reach this stage, speaking, writing, listening, and understanding English will feel much easier, and your confidence will grow every day. Thinking in English is not just a technique. It is the foundation for real fluency. By using these strategies, you can turn English into a natural part of your daily thought process, helping you communicate smoothly, creatively, and confidently in any situation. If thinking in English feels difficult at first, it is important to start small and gradually increase the complexity of your practice. Begin with simple topics that you encounter every day, such as describing your daily routine, talking about your favorite foods, or making shopping lists. For example, you might think, I am making breakfast. I have eggs and bread. I like my coffee hot. As you grow more comfortable with these simple sentences, you can slowly move on to more complex topics, like your career goals, future plans, or even abstract ideas such as emotions or problem solving. This gradual approach helps build confidence and ensures that practicing English does not feel overwhelming. So, why does thinking in English matter? Thinking directly in English is one of the most powerful ways to improve fluency. When your thoughts are in English, you can respond faster, speak more naturally, and understand the language on a deeper level. Your mind no longer has to translate everything from your native language. Communication becomes smoother, easier, and more intuitive. Over time, this mental shift allows you to use idioms, express yourself creatively, and convey your ideas accurately without hesitation. The benefits are clear: quicker responses, richer vocabulary, stronger grammar, and improved listening and speaking skills. While it does require practice and patience, the effort pays off because thinking in English makes your language ability feel natural and automatic. Motivation and encouragement are also essential for success. Learning to think in English is not just about memorizing vocabulary or grammar rules. It is about changing how your mind interacts with the language, making English a natural part of your daily life. Everyone starts somewhere, and it is normal to feel nervous or unsure at first. Fluency is a journey, not a race. Every learner progresses at their own pace, and small improvements add up over time. The key is to stay consistent with your practice, believe in your progress, and maintain a positive mindset. Each step you take brings you closer to speaking English confidently and naturally. Another important idea is to focus on progress, not perfection. You do not need to speak flawlessly to be fluent. Fluency is about communicating clearly and comfortably, even if you make occasional mistakes. Every time you practice thinking or speaking in English, you improve a little. Celebrate small achievements, like having a conversation without pausing to translate, understanding a movie or podcast without subtitles, or successfully explaining your thoughts to someone in English. Recognizing these wins keeps you motivated and reinforces the habit of thinking in English. It also helps to combine different strategies to strengthen your skills. Label your environment with English words, narrate your daily activities in English, engage with English media, practice silent conversations, and write short stories or journal entries in English. Using multiple approaches reinforces the language in your mind and gradually builds fluency. Over time, English stops feeling like a separate subject and becomes a natural part of your thoughts. You begin to think in English automatically, without effort, and your speaking and writing skills improve together. Remember, fluency is not a final destination, it is a process. Each day you practice thinking in English, you are training your brain to operate in the language, building confidence, creativity, and accuracy. The journey may feel challenging at times, but it is also rewarding. With patience, consistent effort, and the strategies outlined, you can make English a natural part of your daily life. Your fluency is within reach, and every small step counts. Believe in yourself, stay motivated, and keep practicing. Thinking in English will soon become second nature, opening the door to clear, confident, and effortless communication in English. As you continue practicing English, it is important to recognize and celebrate progress, no matter how small. Every time you understand a sentence without translating, use a new word correctly, or speak more confidently than before, these are all signs that you are improving. Small achievements may seem minor, but they build momentum over time. A conversation that flows a little better today or understanding a movie without subtitles shows that your practice is working. Celebrate each step forward. It encourages you to keep going and reminds you that fluency is a process, not an instant result. Another powerful technique is to imagine your future self as a fluent English speaker. Picture yourself having effortless conversations, expressing ideas clearly, and understanding everything you hear. Imagine the confidence you would feel when speaking with native speakers or sharing your thoughts in a group. This vision is entirely possible if you practice consistently. Every day that you work on thinking in English, narrating your day, creating stories, or engaging with English media, you are moving closer to that fluent, confident version of yourself. Visualization is a motivating tool that reinforces your learning and helps maintain focus on your goals. It is also important to keep the end goal in mind. Fluency in English can open many doors in life. It can make traveling easier, create opportunities to work internationally, help you connect with people from different cultures, and allow you to feel confident in social situations. English becomes your bridge to new experiences and possibilities. Every effort you make today lays the foundation for your future success. Even small, consistent practice adds up and prepares you for real-world communication in English. At the same time, it is essential to find joy in the process of learning. Language learning can sometimes feel challenging, but it should also be fun and rewarding. Explore ways to make it enjoyable. Watch movies, listen to music or podcasts, read books, play language games, or talk with friends in English. When learning feels enjoyable, even difficult tasks become manageable. Joy fuels motivation, and motivation helps you maintain consistent practice, which is the key to fluency. Final words of encouragement. No matter where you are in your journey, remember that you are making progress every day. Do not rush or compare yourself to others. Mistakes are normal and are an essential part of learning. Every effort you make, whether big or small, brings you closer to your goal. Take a moment to look back and notice how far you have come. Celebrate each improvement, whether it is speaking more confidently, understanding something faster, or using new vocabulary correctly. Keep pushing forward and remain consistent. Keep practicing, keep thinking in English, and gradually fluency will become a natural part of who you are. The path may feel long at times, but each day of practice adds to your skills, confidence, and comfort in English. Remember that fluency is a journey, not a destination, and you are already on the right path. With dedication, patience, and a positive mindset, speaking English naturally will become second nature. Your future fluent self is waiting, and every small step brings you closer to that goal. Learning English is not just about studying. It is about living the language in your mind and in your daily life. Believe in your progress, enjoy the journey, and trust that consistent effort will lead to success. Fluency is possible for everyone who keeps practicing and thinking in English. You have the tools, the strategies, and the ability to reach your goal. Keep going, stay motivated, and enjoy the process. The results will follow. As you continue your journey in learning English, it is important to share your progress with others. Talk to friends who are also learning English, practice together, and encourage each other. Learning with others creates motivation, makes the process more enjoyable, and helps you see your own progress more clearly. Every conversation, every shared story, and every small success adds to your confidence and skills. Remember, fluency is just a step away. Every time you practice thinking in English, narrate your day, write in a journal, or engage with English media, you are moving closer to speaking confidently and naturally. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to express yourself without translating in your mind. Over time, English stops feeling like a separate subject you study. It becomes a natural part of your daily life. Keep your goals in mind, but also enjoy the journey. Learning a language is not just about reaching fluency. It is about discovering new ways to express yourself, connecting with people from different cultures, and opening doors to opportunities around the world. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and remember that each step forward counts. Understanding a podcast without subtitles, having a conversation without pausing to translate, or even thinking clearly in English for a few minutes are all victories worth recognizing. Stay motivated by setting small challenges and goals for yourself. Try speaking only in English for a few minutes each day, keeping a short daily journal, or describing your surroundings in English. These small exercises, practiced consistently, will make a huge difference over time. The habit of thinking in English strengthens your vocabulary, grammar, listening, and confidence, all at once. Finally, never forget that you are capable of fluency. Everyone starts somewhere, and progress takes time, patience, and effort. Celebrate your successes, learn from your mistakes, and keep practicing every day. The more you immerse yourself in English, the faster your fluency grows, and the more natural English becomes in your mind and in your speech. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and believe in yourself. Share your journey, enjoy the process, and trust that with consistent effort, fluency will become part of who you are. Every word you think, every sentence you speak, and every story you tell in English brings you one step closer to your goal. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep thinking in English. Your confident, fluent self is waiting for you.